Turn. March. All uniformed personnel, present arms.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Colors, mark time, march. By the ones, march. Ready? Halt. Post. Colors. Right. Face. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Mark time, march. Forward, march.
Okay, thank you. Please be seated. So we have a little bit of change in today's program. Rusty McAllister, who is the chairman of our Fallen Fire from Autumn Memorial, is unable to make it today. So I'm your stand-in. My name is Bob Sheehan, and I'm the fire chief of Carson City. And I would like to welcome you guys here for this special occasion to memorialize the folks who have given the ultimate sacrifice in serving the lives of our public. So one of the things I would like to do is to really recognize what's going on even in today's area of public safety. If you look what happened yesterday, from last night in Carson, the night before last in Carson City, and then obviously the fire. We also have multiple crews still on those fires that we have today, so we have a limited, some of our folks are limited at who could participate in this memorial. So I just want to say I really appreciate you guys making it. I know with some of it folks were difficult to be here. So I wanted to say thank you again for helping us memorialize these folks. So what I'd like to do is, she's been coming here for a long time. And I always like to listen to what she has to say because she always has some great insights. And some of the things that she even said about 10 years ago, which is really nice, I still remember, is that you got to have somebody to bear witness, and I've never forgotten that. So anyway, what I really like to do is introduce Ruth Hanusa, and she's our memorial chaplain.
Thank you. It's funny what you say about remembering what I've said before. Every year before I prepare this, I have to sit down and I go through all of the notes. We've been doing this since 1993. And it was so casual back then that I wore white jeans and a red turtleneck sweater, and I got 2 days warning, and now I worry about it for weeks ahead of time, and I dress up a little more. But it is really my honor to do this. I'm glad you're here, and thank you all for coming. Our plates are really full today. I'll get that later. We have 4 deaths that we are remembering today. 3 happened within the last 12 months, and 1 farther back, but still we are remembering them. That's more than we normally have. 1, 2, 3, 4 is a lot. And so our hearts are full, and I understand that most of you, many of you, have come to support the family and the friends of these who have fallen. I actually expected us to be a little bit diminished today because of the fire, but we are fuller than normal, and I'm glad it's not raining. I had imagined a lot of umbrellas today. For those of you who are grieving, who are the family and close friends, comrades of those who have died, I would like to express our condolences on behalf of all of us here, those of us who come year after year. And we hope that you are supported by many good memories, by the ability to both laugh and to cry, and by the ability to trust whomever you call your God. We have many faiths here, I'm sure. I'm sure we've got some Christians and Jews and Muslims and Buddhists and people who aren't any particular religion. But probably all of you trust that there is someone, some power, some force in the world that is well-intentioned towards you. I don't know that any of us could live very well if we didn't believe that somehow someone, some being bigger than ourselves was watching out for us. I would hope that as you grieve, and normal grief can take 2 to 5 years, which doesn't mean it always hurts so bad, 2 and 3, 4 years out, but it doesn't ever completely go away, and the grieving can take a lot of time. And so I would urge patience, but also that you know that you can trust whoever you call your God to carry you through these times. I have a friend, a mom, whose son was killed about 2 years ago in a car crash. And she was up at the lake that day, and a mutual friend called me. It was early on July 4th, and I was told that I was supposed to get over to this mom's house right away because she wanted some answers. She knew that I was a chaplain, a hospice chaplain, and she wanted to know why God had let her son be killed. And we've talked about it since then in the 2 years that have followed, and she even kind of laughs now because she said, I really knew you didn't have any answers, Ruth, but I just needed you there, and I needed to say that. And as I've thought about when we have untimely deaths, which we do in the fire forces, it may seem odd to ask why in cases like this, because you're all in very dangerous work. Of course, some of you die in this work. And yet, why this one is really the question. Why this person who was my best bud? Why this person who was my husband, my child, my father? Why this one, and why not somebody else who, yeah, is a nice firefighter, but I don't really like him all that much? How come I have this loss? And the problem with asking why, even though it's as natural as can be, is that it doesn't get us any helpful places. You either end up in some sort of karmic weirdness where you have to find fault somewhere why this had to happen. Somebody's to blame that this would have happened. Or you sink into a kind of a despair that this is all madness. The answer really is, how do I live? It's because trying to figure out why will never happen. But how now do you live in this time and in this place when you are living with a grief that is so disastrous and hurts so badly? Another thing that this friend said to me, we met off and on over the months for some wine, sometimes some gin, good cheese, crackers, fruit, nuts. We had parties, and we laughed and cried. And she said to me one time, she said, Ruth, the friends of mine that have been the most helpful in this process were the ones who weren't afraid of my grief. They weren't afraid of her grief. And I had never heard that before. I've been doing hospice work. I'm a hospice chaplain in my day job. Been doing this for 10 years, and I do 4 grief groups a month and countless memorial services, and I'm listening to people a lot about either the approaching death of their loved one or the loved one who's just died. And I had never heard anyone say that the most helpful people were the ones who weren't afraid. And I've thought about what the difference is between being afraid of someone's grief and not being afraid. And this is where I'm at this point in time, thinking about this, is that when we are afraid of someone else's grief, we want to make them feel better. We want them not to hurt. We want them to smile more. We want them not to cry so much. We want them to get on with their life. And if we're a good friend, we feel that we ought to help that happen. We ought to distract them. We ought to not make them cry or make them sad. And so we can behave in ways where we're more worried about whether we're doing the right things and whether we're being the best kind of person so they don't hurt so much. And finally, the grief is about us and not about them. We are afraid, really, that we won't be good friends and supporters. And that's when we get in their way. And so I have started to imagine that when I'm with someone who is bereaved, who is grieving, like some of you are here today, that I imagine that we're both sitting in a pit, kind of like one of those sunken living rooms from, I don't know, 70s or 80s. And I'm sitting here, and my friend is sitting here, and when I'm with that person, I can either talk a lot and try to say comforting things, or I can give them things to do, or hand them Kleenexes, or pat them on the back, or all kinds of things. Basically, I'm taking up a lot of space and a lot of air and a lot of time. But to not be, and I might be doing that because I'm afraid. It might be well-intentioned, but maybe I'm afraid of not being good enough. But if I'm really not afraid, and I'm really focused on the one who is grieving, then I try to make myself as small as I can. I kind of press my back against the wall and pull my legs and arms in, and I sit there and I be quiet. And I let a lot of silence sit there, so that the one who is grieving can cry without my interruption, can rage and wail and talk and tell the stories, and can breathe all of that air so that they might catch their breath. Now, I might, in fact, be afraid. Sometimes grief just knocks you, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to be with someone else who's grieving like that. But it's at times like that when, again, you recall whoever it is you call your God, and you take your fear and you just hand it over, for at least now. You find a place to put it, so that at least while you are with this person, you do not need to be afraid of their grief, so that they might have as much time and space to be as expansive about their grief as they are able to be. That's the way you heal. It takes time. We don't do this well in America. This is, I think, that one of the few groups in the country that really does memorials well and really honors death are firefighters and all the police forces and the military. The rest of the culture thinks you ought to be over it in 3 weeks. You guys don't do that. You take time, you stand here no matter what the weather, you show up, and you really present for one another. And your parades are amazing. You do an excellent job. And so I commend all of you who are grieving to the gracious arms of your God. And I hope that you have really good friends and supporters who are not afraid of your grief. And for all of you firefighters, I want to thank you for the work you do. I was really glad yesterday as I was getting tons of emails about how we had to call all our patients and make sure they were safe and which zip codes had power outages and on and on and on. I knew you guys were taking care of it, and I was comforted. I am every time I drive by that station across from the Rayleigh's on Mayberry where I get my groceries, and I think of you, and I thank God for your work, your service, your commitment, and I'm also grateful for your families who allow you to follow your passion, even when probably they are plenty afraid, and even when they end up sitting here in the front row being the grievers. They love you, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the things about the fire service, and I've been involved luckily enough to have a position with the Carson City Fire Department for over the last 32 years. And I've had a great experience in the fire service. And I think everybody that's sitting here who is in the fire service really likes the job that they do. Now I know when I was a little kid, you need to look at the school records, I put down I wanted to be a fireman a long time ago. And luckily enough for me, I was able to do that and go through the side of paramedics and be on a paramedic for a long time, and to take care and to make sure that we take care of the citizens that we serve. And we all make a difference in people's lives one way or another. One of the things that we always tell of our new folks coming in and new academy guys is that it says that, look, we go on multiple calls all the time, but when somebody calls 911, they only usually do it once or twice in their lifetime. And we have great impact when somebody dials 911 and we show up. And we're able to take care of those folks in their time of need and to make sure that we make a difference. And we try to really instill that we really do make a difference to everybody. And sometimes we think about some of these routine calls that we go on, they get kind of annoyed on some of the folks that we might show up on or who are our frequent flyers that we go to. But we really do make a difference. And what really helps making that difference is that everybody here kind of all works cohesively. Now, if you look around, we've got everybody from municipality folks here to the BLM guys. We've got NDF. We have U.S. Forest Service. The whole fire industry, fire protection industry in itself is one big giant family, if you will. Because I always told my daughter growing up, if there's anything that ever happens to you, if you're stuck on the side of the road, all you got to do is go to a fire station and say, hey, look, my dad works for the fire department, and they'll be glad to help you. And that actually happened in Las Vegas. When her car broke down and there was a fire station down the street, she knocked on the door and said, my dad works for Carson City, no problem. They fixed the car, got her an airline ticket, and flew her home. So that happens, and that's what we can do nationwide. And even as we go across the states on all of our mutual aid agreements that we're doing now, we had folks in California, we had folks in Oregon, Washington, Montana. Especially in the last few years, the wildland season has been really busy. And as you can tell last night, the fire that we had yesterday and coming through, we have folks that are still on that fire from all over. Now we can all go over there tomorrow and into the camp, and some of that's like coming to old hometown day, if you will, because you see all the folks you've seen before, and it really makes a big difference for everybody to be able to see your friends and the folks that you work with as we go through this career together. Because we've seen folks for 20 years at different agencies, and we all have the ability to come say hi, which makes a huge difference. And what really makes it nice is that now all of you guys are here to celebrate the lives of the folks that have gone before us and who made the ultimate sacrifice to be placed on this wall. Now we all know we have those options when we take this job, and we do our very best not to be on that wall. But sometimes things happen that are beyond our control, as she had said, and those things do happen. And I want to thank you guys for showing up and helping us memorialize these folks and to make sure that we never do forget. So with that, one thing I'd like to say is that obviously this is an ongoing event with all kinds of firefighters. So just last week in North Las Vegas, a 43-year-old captain succumbed to injuries after fighting a structure fire that just happened. The memorial service was on Thursday, and we don't have time to get him placed on the wall. That'll be for next year. But with that, I would like to take a moment of silence, if you would. Thank you. So what we kind of do is we start off with our memorial induction, and we have a representative from the folks that are from North Las Vegas, and the families of Brent Cooper couldn't be here today, and memorializing him. His actual death was August 13 in 2000. And what happened was it was a cancer death related to the job of firefighting. You all know that we're exposed to all kinds of chemicals, and especially under structure fire conditions where there's all different kinds of smokes, and the combustion products and all the products that do burn create some issues. And we have the ability to wear certain protective equipment, but it doesn't always protect everything that happens. And some of our folks are prone to these types of cancers, and Mr. Cooper was succumbed to those injuries. He was 42 years old at the time of his death. He was a North Las Vegas firefighter, an Army veteran, and a member of the North Las Vegas Firefighters, and a member of the North Las Vegas Fire Chiefs Association. And what we'd like to do is to recognize him, and he is placed on this wall. And like I said, our family members aren't able to be here, but we will open that up. So now it does say Battalion Chief, North Las Vegas. He died August 13th, 2000. So now I'd like to bring up Paul, representative from the state.
I'm Paul Peterson. I'm the State Fire Management Officer with Nevada BLM. As we take our shifts at the beginning of each day, we don't know what the end of that day might look like. In the fire service, we deal with people during times of high stress and emotion. We often deal with people on their worst day. This summer, we in the Wildland family experienced our own worst day. On July 10th, Jacob O'Malley and Will Hawkins were killed in a fire engine rollover near Winnemucca, Nevada. Jake and Will were great leaders for BLM Nevada and an inspiration to their crew members and peers. They were battle-born Nevadans with a love for the outdoors, their friends, and their family. Both Jake and Will be greatly missed by the Nevada BLM family. "33 days later, we lost Justin Beebe, a member of the Lolo Hotshots. Justin was killed on August 13th while working as a valued crew member on the Strawberry Fire in the Great Basin National Park. Justin was an outdoorsman who developed a love of the outdoors while growing up in Vermont. We will always have empty spots in our hearts, trucks, and stations for these firefighters. We will long remember their ultimate sacrifice in serving the public. BLM Nevada and the families are forever thankful for all the fire departments and agencies who assisted us this summer during these tragic events. We are comforted by the astounding support by our fellow firemen in our time of need. Thank you."
You know, one of the things they talked about Justin Beebe was a U.S. firefighter on the Wildland fire. What happened is a tree broke and fell on him. And that's one of the dangers that we have when we're fighting these fires. Not only is it trees, it's power lines, it's power poles, it's all kinds of stuff that's out there. And everybody thinks that, oh, well, you know, it's just a forest fire. Well, it might be just a forest fire or a wildland fire, but those are extremely dangerous. And even I was there last night, we had trees that were falling down. We had to make sure that people were out getting safe. Some of our crews got caught by a tree that fell on the road last night with a heavy fire blowing behind them. And they had to get out and cut the tree out of the way to get the trucks out of the way to get out of there. So these things happen, and we try to do our best to make sure that we're trying to save as many lives and property as we can, and hopefully we don't have to put 4 people on the wall for next year. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is today, obviously we put these memorials on for everyone, and it takes a lot of people behind the scenes. So one of the persons that actually did a lot of work is sitting over here in the corner is Christopher Dare. She works for the Carson Fire Department. So thank you. So the Memorial Board of Directors is one is Musty McAllister, who was unable to make the day. One of our Tom Cerulli was the treasurer for the fire department. Todd Carlini, he is here. He's the current secretary. We have Mark Amadei as one of our directors. Let's see Mark. Joe Curtis. We also have Brian Hunt, who is standing right there, part of our honor guard, who works for Carson Fire. Pete Mulvihill, who worked for the state fire marshal, is over here now. He just got back from British Columbia. He's now retired. Sorry about the wind, folks. So now he's got a good job. He just pick up papers when he's retired, so it works out good. Ross Rivera is the director. Also Ruth, who's our current chaplain. And then Steve Frady, who is the chairman emeritus. So what we have now is that we have a ceremony in the fire service, and it's called the ringing of the bell. And usually when we have a firefighter death, we have a last bell that we do in the fire stations. But the ringing of the bell means a bunch of things. One, a ringing of the bell alerts us that we have to go, and we have to go out and serve the public, and we have to do our jobs and do everything that we can to protect and serve the folks that were there. The other thing it does, as a memorial, is that ringing of the bell symbolizes their final call, and that we know that as those bells ring, and the last one rings, is a memorial to them and a remembrance of them from that day forward.
In the past, as firefighters began their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day's shift. Through the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave souls to fight fires and to place their lives in jeopardy for the good of their fellow man. And when the fire was out, and the alarm had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled to all the completion of that call. When a firefighter had died, it was a mournful toll of that bell that solemnly announced a comrade's passing. We utilize these traditions as symbols which reflect honor and respect to who have given so much and who have served so well. To symbolize the devotion that these brave souls had for their duty, a special signal of 3 rings, 3 times each, represents the end of the tour of our comrades' duties, and that they will be returning to quarters. And so, to the firefighters who have selflessly devoted their lives to the good of their fellow men, their task completed, their duties well done. To our comrades, last alarm, they are going home.
I've been doing this for a long time. Amazing grace and taps. Cool. So with that, we also have a fireman's prayer, and I'd like to bring Ruth back up. And if you guys can follow along, it's on the back of the pamphlet that we get distributed, and please read it along. Thank you.
Thank you. It's also up here on the wall if your eyes are really good. I don't have my glasses, so I need to read that. Would you stand one more time? Let us pray together. When I am called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save some life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it is too late, or save an older person from the horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and hear the weakest shout, and quickly and efficiently to put the fire out. I want to feel my calling and to give the best in me to guard my every neighbor and protect his property. And if according to my fate I am to lose my life, please bless with your protecting hand my children and my wife. Amen.
So that concludes our memorial service. I want to thank you for the family members, and our heart goes out to your folks. And please come and visit our wall at any time. It's a memorial to them. It's a memorial to all of us. And we just want to say thank you very much, and thank you for coming.